I'm gonna share with you some deep cuts about Occam's razor, and I hope you appreciate them. So, watch a bit more of this video, and if it moves you, if it inspires you, please let me know in the comments and subscribe for more. So, if you haven't heard about Occam's razor, this is what it is about. It doesn't actually refer to an actual person holding an actual razor. It's more of a principle. And this principle states that whenever we have systems like a machine or a theory, and when we have two different systems that perform the same task and give exactly the same results, so everything else is equal between them, then we should prefer the system with the fewer components or entities. Now, it's a funny word, entities, to hear it in this context, but that's what I read when I looked Britannica online. So, there are some good things about it and some things we should be careful about it, and that's what I want to talk about. You see, like, this is a principle that's based on an idea of effectiveness and functionality. And this is very good when we have, let's say, a machine, and the machine makes some delicious pies, and we have another machine that makes the same delicious pies. Of course, we would keep the machine that has the fewer components because, it has less chances of going bad, of going faulty, and if we need to maintain it, then it's easier to maintain if it has fewer parts. So naturally, we would prefer the machine with the fewer parts, provided it makes the same delicious pies. Right? The motivation here is to have the delicious pie, and that's important to keep. In a similar manner, when we have theories of nature, let's say relativity or quantum mechanics or any other theory of nature, we will keep the theory that has the fewer parameters because this is very useful. It allows us to do calculations more easily, it allows us to make predictions more easily and more accurately with less chance of mistakes, and that is very good. So, considering all that, why would we, consider going against that, right? So, the same thing applies actually when we let me tell you, and this will connect everything together. Let me tell you a bit about models of personal development. When we have models of personal development or models of psychology or therapies, well, you see, these are specific models, and some people have kept the model with the most optimal parameters. But there is something we should keep in mind when we take these models and try to apply them to us. There is a thing that these models were made from a functionalist perspective with the ability to be applied en masse to a generic population. And for that, it's very good to have them optimized. However, when it comes to ourselves, when it comes to our own creativity, to our own personal development, to generating our own ideas out there, then we need to move beyond this idea. You see, because when something is optimized at the general level, it's not optimized for us. And more than that, more that it's not optimized for us, actually, new things are being discovered when we look with curiosity and creativity beyond the current perspective, when we don't think of like, oh, how can I make an existing set of things work better with less parameters? And this is very useful, but new things are being discovered. We enter new realms of knowledge, even in science or in our own personal development as we progress through life, when we look creatively and with curiosity what inspires us, what moves us along our trajectory, along our way in life. So, you see, then we have to move away from the components idea. And when we do that, we have to consider all possible ideas, no matter how wild they are, no matter how crazy we are. We just have to consider all possible ideas and put them down, write them down, consider them all, get immersed in them, get absorbed with them without any sense of judgment about which one performs better or not. Because here is the thing, we don't know yet everything that will fit us in the best possible way. maybe a new idea that comes from this free creative process takes us in a new realm of understanding. And from this new realm of understanding, we can better optimize things from considering from where we were before. And this is very common in science, right? It's not just in psychology and personal development. This is very common in science. You see, like we have theories of nature. We have classical mechanics, right? How objects move when forces hit them. And then we go at smaller scales and we have quantum mechanics. We enter a completely different realm. So this brings me to another thing, right? When we think of components and parameters, when we say like, oh, we want the one that performs the same results with the less parameters, right? We think result driven. We think according to what we currently consider as an acceptable result and what we currently consider as possible. But we don't know everything that's possible or other, frameworks in which we can get acceptable results. And together with that goes another very important thing. The other very important thing that goes with that is the idea that a system, whether it's a machine, a theory, or us, any living organism, people, right? When we talk about our personal development, us people, we are a system and we are more than the sum of our parts. So when we start considering a system as just simple parts, this may be useful for specific applications and give us like a specific roadmap, let's say, to do certain things. However, we may miss other properties of the system that consider when we consider more components or more entities, if you want, now that we talk about psychology more. And that way, we may get a richer set of behaviors, a richer understanding of ourselves, both in the present and in the things to come. So, let me give you an example of this. An example of this is for example, there is this theory of transactional analysis, which talks about, essentially, it's a parts theory, how we have different parts that we communicate, and it refers to it in three different parts. I think it talks about the parent, the adult, and the child, and it has to do how we talk to people and in what positions we put them sometimes according to the tone we choose, and how the tone we choose may be more a parent tone and or more adult or more child, the way we express ourselves. And that's very useful because this is very simple, right? And then if we go to internal family systems, people talk about the inner child and all that, like healing the wounded inner child and all that stuff. But here is the thing. The truth is we have many more parts. We have like many more parts that we can imagine. It's not just three. It's not just parent, adult, and child. And finding our own system of parts, of aspects of our personality inside us that fits uniquely to us, and engaging in this process creatively with curiosity without thinking, oh, how can I make my self-discovery more optimal? That would be ridiculous, right? Making self-discovery optimal. The idea of discovery is that you don't know, so you can't optimize. You have to creatively engage everything. And of course, after we discover some things, then in a specific set of ideas, of application and intentions, we may want to resharpen Occam's razor and say, oh, for these applications and for this set of ideas, we can, keep this and reject the other. But we should also keep in mind that this is just a temporary convention we accept, because when we want to engage creatively, we want to keep considering every wild possibility instead of just accepting things that were considered functional for the generic population and think of them, they should apply to us in an absolute manner, which they don't, or accept the way others optimize solutions according to their own criteria. We should be optimizing solutions according to our own criteria And then even these solutions, use them as a source of inspiration, as a source of launching ourselves to more curiosity and discovering more. So this is what unsharpening Occam's razor it's all about, keeping our curiosity active, sharpening our curiosity and unsharpening Occam's razor, and just keep it as a useful tool along our journey for specific things we want to specify. Because it's better to sharpen our own things than accept those of others. As a matter of fact, if we were going to a barber shop, right, to trim our beard, actually, no, if we wanted to trim our beard, excuse me, we wouldn't use the razor of any random stranger, right? We would prefer to use our own. And if we would go to a barber shop, now we go to that. If we would go to a barber shop, I mean, we would use the razor of the barber, but first they would have like thoroughly cleaned it and sterilized it, and we would give them instructions on how we want them to trim our beard. If they're a good practitioner, they would do it according to our vision, according to our desires. And that is more or less the same as us doing it, right? That's the idea of working when we work with someone else, of having a skilled person. So, all that being said, I hope you realize how there are these principles of effectiveness, optimization, and functionality that in our society that operate according to this philosophical principle of Occam's razor, which is like a cut and takes things out that are not functional, and how we should see these more relatively when it comes to our own personal development, when it comes to our creativity, because we don't know the set of creative ideas that will come to our head from our head, all the possible applications and all the possible optimizations they may give. And when we do that and when we engage with that, then many more things are possible than we so far imagine. So please press like or leave a comment and subscribe. If this moved you, if this inspired you, I would love to know. Okay, thank you. See you at the next one.